Shifters, entrepreneurs on the move, with your host, Amanda Barr, bringing you power-packed 15-minute conversations with entrepreneurs who share their stories of shifting in life and business to keep on the move. Welcome to the show. This is your host, Amanda Barr, and boy, do we have a special guest today, and quite the shifter. As CEO of Unleash Your Rockstar, Jonathan George has spent the past 20 years creating rockstar personal brands for celebrities, entrepreneurs, and influencers with over 150 million followers online. He's known as the Human Hitmaker because of his ability to identify, extract, and cultivate people's greatest untapped assets and brand it into rockstar status. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Hey, Amanda, thank you.
Oh, I am so excited for today.
It's a lot to live up to with all of that, with that great intro.
Well, I mean, I was just smiling reading it because it's so much fun. You've been doing so much in your world, and I'm actually really excited to dive in because as far as what I know, you've got quite the story. So if you could take our listeners down memory lane and tell us how you got to be this hit maker.
Well, when I moved to LA, I moved to LA in 2000. That's where I live right now. And so I moved out here. I ended up on a show called Next Big Star with Ed McMahon, and I was the grand champion winner on the show. I had a record deal on the table, right? I know it felt like my dreams were all, finally coming true because I'd worked so hard. And I was sitting there and I got a phone call from the record label and they said, we're going to retract the contract because we found out that you're gay. And, and I was just like, what? I mean, I just released a single. I was working on my album. We just released the music video. And my team went into this whirlwind to get me married. They tried to change my music, try to change my sound. And, I was sitting there in my living room and just, I was broken. I mean, completely devastated and broken. And it took me back to being, I was like, do I get married? Do I lie to the world? And is this who I am? But it literally took me back to being a kid where I was relentlessly bullied for being the creative kid, the one who had the jazz fingers, the one who, was more artistic and creative than everybody else. And, I didn't play sports in a world where only sports survived or thrived. And then also, my dad's a pastor, and so amazing family. I have an incredible family, but the spiritual abuse that I went through and coming out, it was devastating to my life because my whole life was in the ministry. And so, at 26, I was like, am I going to sit here and lie? I was like, I've never lied before. I'm not going to start lying today. So that's when I gave up singing. And it breaks my heart to think that I gave up what my dream was or what I thought my dream was. But I gave that up to be able to help people really rock the person they were or are rather than try to change them and make them something different from what the world thinks that they should be. And it became my mission. And so, to think that little boy who was bullied and beaten up with the jazz fingers, now look how far those jazz fingers have come. I've helped people reach their dreams, reach their goals. My clients have over 150 million online followers. My clients are signed to every record label you can imagine, #1 best-selling authors, CEOs. They're conquering the world. And, I started because of my own pain, my own hurt.
Yeah. I love
my
that.
Mess, as they say, my mess became my message. My pain became my purpose. And I really dove into it. And this is where I am today.
Oh, thank you for just being so real and sharing. And I know this is just who you are, but it's so refreshing. And I know there's so many people out there, they wish they could just say and be who they are. And you creating this platform from that place to help transform and inspire, it's just incredible. So thank you. Thank you for just sharing.
And I'm going to be really real with you. I can help people speak their truth so easily, but for me to publicly speak my truth, I'm going to tell you, it was a very difficult thing. And you know, it's like the coach who has a hard time living by what he knows to be the truth, and he makes everybody else do it. And so I had to, I had to hire coaches to help me be able to tell my truth, because I was too emotionally tied to it, and I couldn't see it. And so I've had to have coaches to help me be able to tell it in a way where I feel comfortable. And rather than getting into like all this nitty gritty, woe is me kind of stuff, because I was like, I'm a thriver. I'm not, it's not a woe is me story. This is a triumph story, baby. Come on, And so,
exactly.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, the work you've put in to kind of bring out that story, it's amazing. And because that's just a huge shift. I know there's probably listeners out there that you've had to make these choices, and some shifts are small, some are huge. I would love to know, since you made that, and now that you're working with other entrepreneurs and helping them, what are some shifts that you faced after starting your own business?
Well, what's incredible is in LA, it's so creative. So all the things that, I am a super creative human being. You know what I mean? Like, it just runs in my veins. I don't have to think about it. It's just like, I just do it. Like people who can count numbers and all that stuff, I like multiplying, and I'm sitting here going, I need my calculator. When it comes to creativity, it oozes out of my pores. I do not have to think, right? So, and being in LA, it just cultivated that in me and allowed it. And so I didn't really necessarily have obstacles, and I really didn't know where this was all going to go. And it was really incredible. My first client landed on a show called, well, everybody knows the show, America's Got Talent, the very first season. And that's where I learned the power of the story and why we must tell our stories. Because you think about, when you watch a show like America's Got Talent, American Idol, all those shows, is story first. It's never about the talent. It's never about what somebody does. It's about connecting to the person first, building that trust, building that likability. And so for me, one of the biggest things that I learned was that in personal branding, there's this whole thought process that your personal brand is I need entrepreneurs to really listen to this, is that it's not your logo. It is not a font. It is not colors. It is not just having a website. Those are all great things. That's part of the process. It's like putting on your shoes. But your personal brand is who you are. It's the aftertaste that you leave after you're meeting with somebody, you're talking with somebody, right? And so these are all things that I learned on my journey. And I felt like, and I didn't know anybody who does what I do here in LA still. I don't know. I've had a lot of people who try to copy what I do, emulate that, and then they don't last very long. Or there's somebody who just focuses on one thing. I'm focusing on the whole project. We developed the entire project. So I really just learned all these lessons on my own, because I didn't have anyone to copy or to see. So it was just like uncharted waters that I got to explore and be creative. Yeah. And so it's been an amazing process for me. And with social media, with MySpace, one of my girls was on a show, America's Most Talented Kid, and we got her on MySpace when it first started out, and she had over 1 million. She became like an internet sensation on MySpace, and was #1 in the country division for 3 years against Garth Brooks and like all the big names, and she was just a powerhouse. And so I learned so much as I went through all of this. But here's the real kicker: is for entrepreneurs, is how do you become the blue duck in a sea of yellow ducks? How do you become the authority in your space? How do you break through the noise? It's like, with the podcast, how many podcasters are there? How do you break through that noise? How do you become somebody? Why would people be listening to your show compared to the other million podcasts that are out there? And so that is my whole thing, is to let's break you through the noise. Let's make you stand out as the expert, the authority in your space of whatever that is. And let's make you the rock star and make everybody want to come to you. And, you know, people calling you and saying, hey, can you be on my podcast? And so, you know, I really believe, Amanda, that people's messages, what they do is so important and so vital to the world. We need you. We need what you have to offer.
Yeah, I believe it 100%. I believe we're all given gifts, if we're using them or not, to do great things. And when we can access what we're really good at, then anything is possible. We just got to believe that it is.
And that's where personal branding is, where it's much more deeper and much more than just lines on a paper. This is where you have to learn your work ethic. I mean, personal branding is a lot of personal development, and having, you know, that's where you have to have the coaches. That's where you've got to have the development. It's somebody pushing you and helping you show up every single week, because we're human. We are human.
Yep.
You know, we have junk that we're dealing with. We have the imposter syndrome happening and popping up in our way saying, why me? Why? Like you said, there feels like a billion other blue ducks.
Yep.
How am I going to be the blue duck? You know, we can't all be Tony Robbins, but you can be Tony Robbins in your area, in your space. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can be the rock star you can be the big fish in a small pond. You know, not everybody's meant to be the big fish in the ocean. You can be the big fish in a small pond and be making lots of money, being very successful, impacting people's lives and serving. And so this, you know, the thing about being this imposter syndrome, where you asked me earlier about, you know, what are some things that I faced?
Yeah.
This is helping people get through the imposter syndrome. Probably is the biggest obstacles that I faced. And I got really good at it, because I just don't allow the BS to come out of people's mouths or those negative thoughts or any of that stuff, because I didn't have somebody to help me. I did not have anybody to help me turn this mess of mine that I felt like was a mess to help me succeed. And so I just refused to allow anybody to feel not good enough. I felt like I wasn't good enough. That lie I believed, and it was a story that I believed, and I just refused to allow one single person to feel like they're not good enough to reach whatever it is that they want to. So that is the biggest obstacle that we have to get over. And, you know, people like Jonathan, there's already, 20,000 people. There's already 1 million podcasters. Why me? And here's the thing, is that you have a message. You are meant to help other people. And if you are not stepping into your power, if you're not stepping into your abilities and your gifts, you're not only doing yourself a disservice, but you are robbing me and everyone around you of our blessings. So you've got to step into your power. And so I just don't allow, we all compare ourselves to people who are super successful. You know, if an artist that coming out, they're like, well, Carrie Underwood has, 50 million online followers. I only have 700. Well, you're not Carrie Underwood. You worry about you. Right. Let's set the clear intentions for you, what you want to have happen, and let's go after that. But you can't compare yourself to what other people are doing. You just can't. Yeah. You can use it as inspiration. You can get highly inspired by it and be like, oh, I love this. This is really what I want. But you've got to understand that person didn't just walk out on stage. They did a lot of work for a lot of years before any of that happened. You're seeing the end results. And you're not seeing the struggles that they face every single day. You're not seeing the thousands of hours that they put into something. So you cannot compare yourself. You have to just worry about what you're doing, the clear intentions of what you're wanting out of this, and going for it. And I just want people to become that blue duck in a sea of yellow ducks. Be a freaking rock star.
Right. I mean, you're hitting on so many essential points, and I know some people, we hear these things, but sometimes hearing and listening are two totally different things. Then I always look at that stuff as, and kind of like the rock star, it's like, well, they got there, and the only reason they got there is because they did something. They took action, and they just kept doing it until they move forward. Like you're saying, it's not so much of an instant. I'm sure there's those instantaneous happenings, but a lot of the successful individuals put a lot of time and effort.
Right. Honestly, I've been doing this for 20 years, and there has been like maybe one person out of all the people that was something instant because something big happened that blew them up. But that is not the way that it works in the real world. That's a phenomenon. That's something that's just like, what? How did that happen? That one tree that's growing on side of the cliff that's like thriving, and you're like, how did that happen?
Right.
That it just doesn't happen. And let me just tell you, when they do get up there, it is a struggle to stay up there. It doesn't just stay automatically, right? It's like you have to work and create the content to stay out there. And so right now I'm branding this guy. He's the #1 best-selling author. He has 3 different books. He talks on sex and abstinence, and he's a reformed bad boy. He was a male stripper who had this turnover with God. Like God completely turned his life around. He was he was a man whore who has turned to an abstinent God lover, and so his story is so incredible. He had a video on YouTube that came out at 1.6 million views, and he has all of this incredible stuff. He became the CEO and the founder of a program called CityFam. But Rob didn't know how to he didn't know how to take everything he had done and accomplished and make it sensible, to make it scalable, and to really be able to make money off of this thing. So I've completely turned his brand inside out, clarified the message, who you are wanting to reach. Here's the thing, is like what I've said before, is that once you set the intention, where it's clear intention of what it is that you're really wanting, what the end goal is, the rest is easy. But you've got to, it's like planning a trip. You're always like, well, where do we want to go? I don't know. What do we want to do when we get there? How does that look? And so, but once you've got it figured out, then you're like, ooh, let's do this. Ooh, let's do that. And so I've clarified all of those things, and Rob is now being able to get booked immediately, because people can go to his website and see the clarity of who he's calling into, who he is speaking to, what it is that he does. And he is a sex and abstinence expert. And he didn't even have a name for himself. I was like, boy, this is so easy. I was like, you are the expert in this. What other male stripper who was a man whore that can talk about sex and abstinence and how it turned his life around once he quit having sex, finding true love, being able to fulfill other areas in your life? And so, just understanding that your branding, it doesn't matter if you are trying to up-level your game as an entrepreneur, up-leveling yourself as a CEO. You think about it, Tesla, who represents Tesla? Mac, who are Apple products? Who was the name behind that? Like, you think about these large companies, and it's the CEOs who have the power. They're the ones who really sway people to loving that product because they've created a personal brand. So it's all about creating something that people, if you want to up-level your game, if you want to become more than average, you need personal branding. And of course, the depth of your brand is going to depend on the depth of your goals. So, and I always say,
that's a great
I always
statement.
say, 20% success is 20% talent. Let me say it again. Success equals 20% talent. The other 80% is how you develop, how you brand that talent to shine. So 20% is your talent. The other 80% is how you brand it to outshine what everybody else is doing.
Awesome. Awesome. Wow. I mean, this show is just packed with information. definitely usable on all different fronts, and just about anything that you're doing, you can apply these nuggets. And I would love to know, before we go, we always do like a little bit of shifter wisdom, but I felt like that was the whole show. You just gave us tons of wisdom around branding and being a rock star. But if there was one additional thing you could give, and you're thinking about the entrepreneurs, they could be anywhere from just starting out to potentially, you know, making a shift in their life, and they've been in the business for a while, what would you suggest to keep them on the move?
Is keep showing up. Keep showing up. It is a process. You think about people who feel like when you look at them, you're like, oh, they're so successful. Those people didn't just, especially if you're creative, and most entrepreneurs are creative, that you think there's not just one line. There's all these paths that you take. There's like, you know, we say niche down, niche down, niche down. And yes, I think niching down is very important for people to get clear on who they serve. But when you're a creative, you cannot sit there and put me in a box. You
Right.
can't say you have to serve just singers and artists. No, I'm creative. I get bored. I get exhausted. And so here's the key is you have to understand, what does success look like for you? And then keep showing up in what you're doing every day to make sure that you're reaching what that success is. Because if success to me is happiness, loving what I do, it's not the dollar sign. That's just a side outcome of that, right? So having the understanding of what that success looks like to you, and this is all part of how I brand people, is having clarity on all of these things that you're doing in your life. It's almost like life coaching, because personal branding, you cannot be clear on your personal brand without these kind of things, because it's innately who you are. So having that clarity of what that success looks like, and then showing up every single day in that to reach that success.
Amazing. Show up. That's, I mean, it's so great. And it doesn't take, you know, anything crazy to do it. You just got to do it.
Yeah, it's just taking small actions every day, you know?
Yeah.
Take 20 minutes a day to start working into what you're wanting to do. 20 minutes a day. I don't have time, Jonathan. You have 20 minutes a day. While you're sitting on the pot, work on it. Work. You know what I mean? While you're driving down the road, make some phone calls.
Yeah.
20 minutes a day. Everybody's got 20 minutes a day to start working on whatever it is that they need to work on. And you look at 20 minutes a day times 5 days.
Yeah.
You know, that's some work that you put in that week. It adds up.
Yeah.
So,
Jonathan, amazing. How can they get in touch with you? Because I'm sure they're going to say, we want to talk to him, especially if they're searching out this whole thing of who they are and how they want to really, you know, be the rock star and let that shine inside of them. So how do they get in touch with you?
UnleashYourRockstar.com. Go on there. There's social media. I've got a book that's coming out at the beginning of the year. I'm really excited about.
Awesome.
And you can sign up I'm giving free copies of that when it comes out. So you can sign up for that. Also, there's a lot of free downloads on there under the freebies section for people that you can just download, kind of worksheets, things that, you know, like it's snippets of stuff that I teach in my courses, or stuff that I teach, you know, when I'm doing one-on-one with people. There's lots of little freebies in there that you can use to start putting towards your brand. So, and I'm going to be putting up this little thing. It's a website check of what's on your website or for your branding. See if your branding is really just the visual aspects parts of it, and making sure that your message is clear. It's a little checklist in that you can get. So, also all social media, Jonathan George. It's pretty straightforward and easy. I'm the guy with the yellow. Everything's yellow for me. I love yellow.
Yeah.
My shorts. I'm wearing yellow. I'm wearing bright yellow shorts, and I've got a cleaning cloth that's bright yellow. I love yellow. It's happy.
Why yellow? But yeah, because it's happy.
Yep. It's just
Awesome.
happy to me. It's
it's
on fire. It's the sunshine, baby. It's what makes everything grow.
Incredible. It's been such a pleasure to have you on this show today. I'm so thankful for you taking the time, sharing your nuggets, sharing your wisdom. We are definitely cheering you on and look forward to seeing your book come to life and make a big difference beyond what you're doing already.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thank you. And so we're going to get out of here, and we wish everybody an incredible rest of your day, and keep on the move.
We hope you enjoyed the episode today. We appreciate each one of you for listening and hope you left inspired and motivated to keep on the move. If you think this episode might help or inspire someone else, please share. Don't forget to subscribe and keep in the loop to hear more incredible stories of entrepreneurs like yourself on the move. Thank you for our supporters, RTB Capital Group, Financial Powerhouse, Callcast, and Power Podcasting. Now, get out there and keep on the move.